Today's program is on technology, which you could spend a lot more time than we have on this subject. But we got two things that are pretty dang cool, and the cost, as you can imagine, is an issue. One way around that issue is we share with other agencies. This deal over here on my left is really expensive, as is the stuff over here on my right. There's no reason in the world why the sheriff's office and the city police should both have one of those and one of those. So the way we get around that is not only with the technology, but with our SWAT teams, we work together. I am really fortunate in my job in that I have a good relationship with Chief Brian Pike, and between us, our goal is to protect the citizens of this county. So to get on to the good stuff here, Sergeant Dan Tom, I think everybody knows who he is going to come up, and he's going to help us with this program.
Left button. Forward.
Thank you. I was told I needed to stay behind that podium today because the helicopter and the thing over here is going to grab me, so I'm going to stay. I'm going to hide behind here a little bit. You know, we have a custom in our, you guys traded flags. We have a custom in our department too, is that when you take somebody to jail, they give you a different set of handcuffs. So it's kind of a nice trade-off. So. Hey, I'm just going to talk just a couple minutes because I wanted to make sure you understood. Technology in law enforcement is not new. We have been, as we look at the evolution of law enforcement, you look at the uniforms. I mean, just in that, we change. On a, I don't want to say on a monthly basis, but on a decade basis. We have changed a lot in the last 200 years, 160 years of law enforcement. And we are not going to be held back at all. Technology is a big part of what we do. Now, the cool part of being in law enforcement is the mustache. I mean, I truly believe that it's important to have, oh, wait a second, I got distracted, and I apologize for that. But in the 1800s, we even looked at, when you look at what was going on back then, law enforcement was even moving forward then. Not only how they communicated, but the weapons they used, the equipment they used. You can see early 1800s, or I should say through the 1800s, things changed. We moved into the 1900s, and in the early part of the 1900s, we used automobiles, which was an absolutely great thing for us to be able to be mobile, and we also had mustaches. Just pointing that out on that one. We move in the 1940s and through the 70s, we start to see some technology really step into place. Now, you guys think about this. In the last 100 years, how much technology has changed? And it just boggles your mind. When we start talking about law enforcement, and I know I've worked for both of these guys, both of them have been my sergeants, but when I talk about law enforcement, up to the mid-70s, we had a call box in Twin Falls City that the police officers would see the light on, they would go to the call box and pick up the call instead of the radios. And so as we look at how law enforcement has changed over the years, we're not going to be held back. And in the 80s, we really started to see more and more technology. MDTs, mobile data devices, were put in cars in late 80s, early 90s. Radars were developed, motorcycles were used, and you just start to see the difference in technology that we're using. Now we look at the 90s, and for any of you that have watched CSI, that's all a bunch of crap, okay? I'm just letting you know, okay? We can't solve a crime in a half an hour. It takes a little longer to do that. We can't get a fingerprint in 20 seconds. It takes a little longer to do that. But there are technologies that are true. We start looking at facial recognition, the weapons we're using, the fingerprints, even going to digital fingerprints. All these things have moved us forward. And as I say that, you look at some of these dates on some of these things. Fingerprints, first time used in the first time used in the U.S. was 1910 in a court case. Radar was enhanced from Second World War. They started using it in traffic in the late 40s. In Boston, 1934, they used two-way radios. That really didn't happen to all of America until late 60s when we started using radios. In the 20s and 30s, automobiles were implemented. Side-handle baton came out after the Korean War. First computer-used dispatch in Los Angeles was in the in St. Louis was in the 1960s. AT&T came up with, well, not just AT&T, but they helped with that, pushing that 911, and then the enhanced 911. It's been around for a while. Pepper spray, the first stun gun, really, really poor stun guns. Now they're really good, I'm just letting you know. And then even DNA in 1996. And we've seen so much stuff go on in the last few years. And that's what brings us here today. Is we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to get this helicopter fired up, and we'll change over, if we can change over to go to a different source on this thing, we'll get the picture put on it too. So helicopters, or drones, we'll call them. we have a few done. If you want to get ready to set up, and we'll get going on it. Okay. We have, as these guys are getting set up, let's talk just a little bit about it here. First one we got was in 2012. Okay, it's the one on the very left hand. It's a smaller 4-bladed one. Interesting things about it. There's some really exciting things that come along with this technology. First of all, one of the technologies that surprised me is if this thing loses contact with the sending unit, it lands back where it took off from. So it doesn't fly away, okay? It comes right back to where it comes back, where it's sent to. The original one that we had over here is on the very left-hand side, has about a 12-minute battery, which isn't much time to use, okay? And it has the ability, it has a camera with a gimbal on it. What I would describe as a gimbal is that gimbal is able to move that camera whichever it needs to look at things. It's a 4-bladed one. Again, one battery lasts about 12 minutes. The second one we got is the 6-bladed one over here. It has about a 8-minute life, but it can pack a little bit more punch as far as what it can carry because of the weight of it. It also had a camera on the bottom that has a gimbal that can move into different looking at things. We would never say that we looked in anybody's window. We'll get to that in just a minute here. Without their permission, I'll just put it that way. And then the third one we got, here's the one sitting on the table right in front of us. This is I want to say like 3rd or 4th generation helicopter. You can see that it doesn't look like it's stacked or built. It's integrated into one system. On the bottom of it, it has a gimbal camera as well, which can move around. And once we get that thing fired up, hopefully it'll show up here pretty quick. You're going to see some pretty neat stuff. Oh, we need to be plugged in the back here. This camera can up to 1,000 feet away. We can get reception. This has about a 22-minute battery life on this thing, so it can last a long time. Really interesting thing is that this thing you're going to see it move a little bit, and I'm going to step out in front and talk a little bit, but you're going to see it move a little bit, and you're going to watch that camera. As it picks up, one of the things that was real interesting about it is not like a regular helicopter. Your helicopter has blades that move, they'll tilt it forward, the front blades are the red, the front blades move it forward, speeds are higher, the back blades are lower. The guy that drives it, you can tell this is the front of the helicopter, this is the rear of the helicopter. Look at how clear that picture is. You can fly and look at your talking. Okay? I'm not kidding on that. This is a really good item to use. We have a couple of things that are good. Keep flying outside, you see how high we can go. A lot of questions happen, how high can that thing go? Until it's completely receptive. You don't want that. You want to use the perception what happens then, it's coming back and lands going back. What do we use these things for? First of all, in the state of Idaho, watch that camera, how the camera stays level. It has a leveling system. As you shake it back and forth, you say that camera stays with a nice plane. That helps when the wind is blowing around in there. I'm going to get that behind the camera. He's going to fly it outside. He's going to fly it outside. I'll get back here and talk a little bit about the screen. He'll fly it outside, and you can see what kind of perception that we have when we're flying this, where it can go. And as he flies it over to you, you can see air movement. There's a lot of air movement there. Again, this isn't like a regular helicopter where the blades literally turn. When somebody goes forward, when the operator moves it forward, the front blades are moving faster than the back blades, which causes it to move forward. Same in the back. Now, if we don't lose reception, and I don't think we will, if we don't lose reception, you're going to see how high this can go. And look, think of the perception that you have. If you have somebody that's lost in a cornfield, about last year I think it was, we had a mentally handicapped person get lost in a cornfield. For us to be able to go and look at a 200-acre cornfield is really difficult. But as you watch this thing can fly right over that and locate them. We also used it over in Jerome when that building burned down. They were afraid to send people in for investigation because of the construction of the building could collapse. So they used this to gather evidence. If we had a crime scene, yeah, we're looking at our home. We had a crime scene somewhere. We don't want to go into that crime scene right away. We want to be able to get pictures and photographs and video. This is all recorded. Great stuff. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that you understood, this is not for us to be peeping on the public. Our Constitution protects us from the government, okay? That's the whole idea behind it. Our 4th Amendment specifically spells that out. Search and seizure. I don't know how far he's up, but I'm sure he can't even probably see it. So we have to use this. State law has developed a code for us that's real specific for us. Let me read it so you can understand it. No entity of the state shall use a drone other than unnamed aircraft to conduct surveillance of any individual, property or owned individual, farm or agriculture, industry without consent of that individual. Okay? We have to get consent. If it's exigent circumstances, so we have somebody that's lost, we can use that with good intent. We have to get a search warrant till we use this thing if we want to peek in somebody's backyard. Okay? It's not that we can just go fly in people's backyards and look at it. Yes, sir?
Hey, Dan, what's the altitude?
At this point, I'm not sure that
I mean, what is its specs?
he told me it's easy 1,000 feet. So, but he also said when the air gets thinner that it literally will, it can't fly as well. So he's up there a long ways right now. So understanding this is not a tool to peek in your backyard. This is a tool for law enforcement. These things are not paid for out of county budgets. This is all grant stuff, just like these other equipment you're going to look at today. This is all grant stuff. So when I talk about money, that first one over there, $1,500. The second one over here is about $2,500. $2,500. The one that's flying right now is about $3,000. We have a new one that we're looking at, and this is the reason what's really cool. There's a thing called FLIR, forward-facing or forward-looking infrared, where we can fly this at night and we can see somebody that would be hiding in a cornfield. We can see things that are happening. So because sometimes with cornfield, you can't get too high because you can't see. When we start looking and searching, this is going to be ideal. Search and rescue is really a big issue on this thing. That's where we want it. Yes, sir, in the back.
Does it give you long and ladder for GPS grid?
I can find out with that. I don't know if it does or not. Does it? Yeah, it does. Sorry about that. Again, the thing on the top of it, right behind you there, Sergeant, the thing on the top of it, oh, this one doesn't have it, but it's got a GPS tracking system on it. This can be recorded. It's all video. Everything is with there. So, any other questions? It takes a long time to learn how to fly this. They said anywhere from 20 to 30 hours to master, well not master, but just basically get that the way it handles and ability to fly it. Really impressive. You can, for those of you in the front row, you can feel the air movement on it. All right. Thank you, Don. Appreciate it. This is our chief deputy, Don Newman. He's been practicing and playing with this toy. It's not a toy. I'm sorry. This piece of equipment for quite a while. He's become really good at it. And I have another sergeant back here that's practicing it with as well. So, yes, sir.
How long does it take to recharge the battery to get it going again?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. And we probably have a few batteries. So, all right. I'm not. Real quick, yeah.
Can he see where he's at or what he's looking at when he's flying it?
Yeah, you'll notice that there's a small monitor over here. This is what he'll use to fly it with, and the monitor. He doesn't have to be right by it. I'm getting peeped on. Doesn't have to be right by it. And the next generation is going to have goggles, so he'll be able to literally see it with my goggles. So, you know, I'm gonna stop right here because we only have so much time. If you guys have to leave, please don't feel bad about leaving. I understand that. We're going to bring Sergeant Howe in. He's going to talk about this robot and some of the stuff this robot can do. Again, technology is our friend as long as we use it within the Constitution, and that's our goal, never to go outside of it.
So we started having a discussion over our little, the kids' table over here, and we were wondering what would happen if we had a fight between the helicopter and the robot. And I think that everybody would probably agree that the robot would win. This is a shotgun, so we only have 12 rounds to go on that, and this is a pan disruptor, and we can load this with explosives. So I think that we would take the robot out if we were to ever have a battle. I don't think that's ever going to happen because, like Sheriff Carter said, we do work very well together. This is the Andros F-6A robot that the bomb squad acquired through the FBI in, I believe it was 2001 is when we first got it. We've talked about, thank you. We've talked about technology and how technology has increased or changed over the years. One of the newest things that we have on this robot is that back box is the wireless module. Before this last year, we had to have a tether to it. It was a fiber optic cord that went from that location back to the command trailer. And with that cord, we had to make sure that we didn't run over it. We could break it, we could snap it, and then we lose communication with the robot. Now we have wireless, and it's approximately a mile line of sight. The difference, again, he's kind of showing you a couple of the differences. The helicopter can't quite pick up that table. We could move it. We could do whatever we wanted to with that table. If anybody wants to lay down on the ground and have the robot drag you, we could do that. No volunteers?
Chris.
Yeah.
I was just nominating Clay.
What's really nice is these tools work and complement each other. We can actually see where we need to go. We haven't used them in conjunction with each other, but I know that JP, Officer O'Donnell, who's actually running the robot right now, has been working with some of the drone operators and working with different things so that we can use these together. Now, we don't have any weapons loaded on this at this point. We may have a very small amount of explosives on there. Very, very small amount, and we'll show you that in just a moment. But as you can... How's that for just a moment? That's about 1/5 of a grain of high explosives is what that is. And what we have on there is the yellow tubes that you can see sticking off to the side. What that's for is the pan disruptor that we have. That's what operates this tool. This tool, we can use this to disrupt different explosive packages. We can use it to open packages. We can open briefcases. The briefcase is usually not of use after we open it because it's not a gentle opening. But we can open cardboard boxes. We can open backpacks. That's what the robot is for. The robot is a replacement for an officer because we could really, I mean, we care, but we could care a little bit less if the robot gets hurt than if an officer gets hurt. We can replace parts, we can order a new robot, we can do things like that. The robot can actually carry very heavy loads of explosives. We can carry actually hundreds of pounds. They make a trailer that will actually go on the robot, and we can drag it and put it in place if we need to, and then detonate that remotely. We haven't had to do that using the robot. We have had some other things that the robot has done for us. Again, the pan disruptor, we've used it on several pipe bombs in the valley. One of the things I wanted to know is how many people here knew before today that we had a bomb squad in the Magic Valley? So a lot of you did. Is there anybody that had no idea? Okay, thank you for being honest. At least one or two. I appreciate that. The bomb squad here, and like we work well with the county, and I'm sure that the county would go anywhere that they're needed. One of the things that we do is we respond regionally. So we can go anywhere in the state. We can actually go out of state if we're requested. And a lot of that is dependent on the needs of the agencies that might require our assistance. There are a lot of different things that we have helped with. When they had the Olympics in Salt Lake, our bomb squad went to Salt Lake and assisted down there. So we get a lot of grant funding. We get a lot of help from the FBI in training our people, in maintaining our equipment. Technology has been wonderful for us and has helped us a lot. Before we actually had our own robot, one of my favorite stories is we had an individual who was in a he was held up in a hotel, one of our local hotels, and we had the Mountain Home Air Force Base come up, and they went and wanted to get a peek at where this guy was and what he was doing, but we knew he was armed, so they sent a robot in. The robot was so menacing, and this guy was maybe not the brightest bulb, but he actually gave up to the robot. Before they said anything, he walked out and said, don't let it hurt me, don't let it hurt me, I give up. One of the easiest hostage negotiations we've ever had. So again, the tools are great, the tools help us. I could go on and on about the robot. It's about 100, we talk about the prices here. I think we're at 160. We're probably over 200,000 now with the wireless. There's some upgrades that we're going to have to do with the computer boards that are inside, and that's coming up here shortly because they no longer make those boards.
You work these with your dogs?
Do we work them with our dogs? Not normally. We don't actually have any bomb dogs, so...
I was thinking of like search and rescue or surveying something and having a police dog.
make a first approach to a situation?
You know, we've actually used them on SWAT operations where we actually send people in, and we would. I mean, it doesn't care if there's noxious gases or anything like that, so we can send these in. We have monitors. We have gas monitors and hazardous device monitors that we can put on there and read using the different cameras. That's why you guys are laughing. Oh, I forgot to warn you, and you guys, just so you know, we were here for a Rotary group. It's been probably a couple of months ago, but one of the things that we did is we actually we didn't have it put up here, but there were a few people that fell asleep. So if you're sleeping, just keep in mind that your picture may show up later, and we will definitely replace the picture that was taken back here with our picture. So you don't want to be the one that's fallen asleep during this. Yes, sir.
What's the endurance? How long can it run?
It depends on what we're using it for. As a platform for just surveillance, we could probably go 12 hours. If we were to run it and have it be working the entire time, we're probably looking at about 3 hours. It depends on a lot of different things, the temperature. It runs on batteries, so just when that battery dies, we'll have to change it out. We do have spare batteries for it. It's just we don't want to have to take batteries down to a hazardous situation, change it down there, and then come back. So we want to have enough battery power to take it back to our command post. Are there any questions? Is there anything that I haven't covered?
How much does it weigh?
It's about 600 pounds. It can tow a vehicle. I mean, it's not going to be really fast, but it can actually pull a vehicle. It can move a vehicle. We can open doors with this. We can do very precise movements. There are a lot of things that you may not think that you can do. It's actually set up to climb stairs. We can actually climb the stairs with a robot. The wheels, the black wheels that you see on there, can come off, and it actually runs on its tracks. The reason that it's made to run on its tracks is because that's the width of an airplane aisleway or a bus aisleway, so we can fit it in those very tight locations and have it do a lot of work if there's something that needs to be retrieved. And when I said that it will drag a person, it very easily will drag a person. We've actually used it to do just that. So it's for recovery. It's a great tool. Luckily, we haven't had to use it that way, but there are a lot of things that this robot can be used, and a lot of it is just up to the imagination of the operator, or the people that are directing the operations.
What is his name?
We've come up with several different names. Right now it's JP, so when I say JP, it knows what to do. We've called it the dog. We've called it a whole bunch of the F6A. We actually have two of this. This is the little guy. The big guy will actually, instead of opening a door, it'll just go through the door. It was donated to us by Mountain Home Air Force Base, and we've actually done some joint operations. JP's just learning how to drive this, so he's going to run over that table or break something because he's real close to that computer. We're going to see how that works. Yes, sir.
What weapons can it fire besides a shotgun?
It fires a shotgun, and like I said, this is a pan disruptor. What it is it's basically a shotgun barrel with a lot of strength around it. One of the things that we will do is fire water from this. If we fire water, you don't have any, it's not going to set anything on fire, but that water can't be compressed, and it goes very, very fast, and that's why it opens things so well. They actually make different rounds for these. A lot of them are blank rounds. We can fire slugs. We can fire different projectiles for different applications. They actually made one for cutting wires, which is an arrowhead inside a shotgun shell. So there's a lot of different things that we can do with this. They're designing a lot of different tools for it. You can put drills on it. We can actually work our X-ray off of this. So if we need a picture of something, what the inside of it looks, but we don't want to go down as an individual, we can actually hook our X-ray machine onto this and fire that X-ray, bring it back and develop that and use that. Yes, sir.
I can see that the drones would have fairly regular use. How often do you call on this in its mate?
You know,
I'm thinking locally as opposed to maybe a joint operation in the region.
Locally, we probably use this, I'd say 3 to 4 times a year. It's not it's not all the time that we get the robot out. Sometimes there's different operations that it's easier to go down as an individual. If you get into a house where there is a lot of clothing, which happens to be the houses where a lot of the bad stuff happens, a lot of clothing or just trash, you can get your tracks clogged up and it creates an issue. So sometimes we'll go in and we'll suit up in a bomb suit and go in and either clear it or do the work just that way without the robot. Yes, ma'am.
Actually, Jim was next. How fast can they go?
This one is the F6A, and F stands for fast, so it goes about 3.5 miles an hour. It'll go along. I mean, about as fast as you can walk quickly. It's not super fast, but it does pretty well. One of the things we'll do is that if anybody wants to stick around afterwards, we can run it back and forth just so you can kind of see how quickly it moves. He's being very cautious, which is good. So, and we don't want to tear up the carpet either. With 600 pounds on those wheels, that can cause us some problems. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Since you only use it maybe 3 or 4 times a year, how often does someone train with it to keep the skills up as far as navigating it?
As a bomb squad, we train once every 2 weeks. So we train 16 hours a month. We normally, at least one of those trainings, have the robot out or doing something with the robot. One of the other things is maintenance. We want to make sure that things are working so that when we need it, it's going to work for us. So it doesn't just sit in the trailer. We use it quite regularly for training and actually create scenarios for each other. Excuse me. Are there any other questions? Dan, does it go back to you?
No, I think it goes to Sheriff.
Sheriff.
Here we go. Thank you. Like I say, this is just a really small sampling of the technology that is out there. I'd say, and as you can imagine, like I said before, that stuff is really expensive, and that was a very good point, that they're grants that we buy this. Other than that, thank you very much for allowing us to show you some of our stuff.